Hello guys, welcome back. Today we are reacting to GameSpot Spider-Man 2 Indie Explained with the creative director. Um, I have a video of I'm having another Marvel Spider-Man 2 video dropping tomorrow tomorrow when I'm recording this. It's a Friday 11:39 p.m. divided by midnight, but my video will be coming out tomorrow. Two, but not a Spider-Man, not two Spider-Man 2s. Only one Spider-Man 2 and then a reaction is possibly this. But yeah, let's begin. Let's put it to 1080 but let's begin. 44 minutes long means we might watch this whole entire thing means this video gonna be a long one, but let's go.
Brian Interhart of Insomniac Games, hot off the presses, I guess, from the release of Spider-Man 2. Very excited to have you there. I'm joined by Lucy James, of course.
Hi.
And we are going to be talking about Spider-Man 2 in this spoiler cast.
That's what we're talking about today?
That's what we're doing.
Okay,
Do you
good
know?
to
Have you heard of that game?
Yes,
Spider-Man
well, I haven't
2?
played any other game this
No?
year, so that's probably good that we're talking about Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to dive deep into the game and the story. So if you haven't played it, first of all, you should probably go play that. And then come back to check this out. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So Brian, obviously, successful first game, and then a successful kind of spin-off game based on that.
Yep.
You're coming up to Spider-Man 2. What is it as a team that you go into it thinking that your objective is, and what do you want to achieve with a follow-up game?
Great question. One is, I think first one was really about, hey, can we do it, right? We never worked on a licensed IP before. Obviously, something working on something as popular as Spider-Man, like probably the most popular Marvel character. You know, it's like, hey, can we prove we can do it? And now, and thank you for the compliment that the first one was successful. It's like, okay, can we do it again? And expectations are real, right? It's real, and I think whereas before people were like, hey, can they just do it? Now it's like they have these expectations of like, oh, it's going to be everything and more, and that can be intimidating. It can be like very stressful, very stressful. I think what we kind of said was, okay, kind of let's think about things in three buckets. One is don't screw it up. Like here are the things that like don't make it worse. Like people love swinging around the city. Don't make that worse. Like just find the things that will make it better. So that's an example. And then there's like, okay, hey, we've played the game ourselves. We've seen what fans are saying. We've read the reviews. What are areas like boss fights or injecting more narrative and exploration in the side content? That's stuff that we can actually improve upon. Okay, let's that stuff. And then the third thing was, hey, we knew very early on this was going to be a PS5 only game. Like we were going to make it exclusive for the PS5. What can we do, whether it's the way we're leveraging the console, what we want to do from set pieces, hero switching, all different features, like how can we take advantage of the PlayStation 5? And that's kind of how the journey started. So like the pillars of the game kind of represent that journey. It's like, we wanted to, tell a story of two Spider-Men, right? That was like something, and we wanted to say, okay, how can we, make this more of a reactive city? So having more exploration, discovery, more narrative, having more cause and effect. So like seeing the aftermath of the Sandman fight, that early on in the mission where they're in the boat, the overturned boat where Kraven gets Lee and Scorpion. For several missions later, you can see the boat still in the water, right? And I think, because like, in Spider-Man 1, we had that one mission where like, the helicopter where it's, in that, it's a cool sequence, right? But like in video game world, if you just turn your head after the mission's over, it's gone. Yeah. And we want to have more of that cause and effect. And then it was like, hey, looking at combat and traversal, and which I thought were relatively really good in the first game. What are things we can add to that, just up that more? And then the fourth thing was like really like taking those spectacle pieces and really upping, like making them bigger.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 was like, my bad guys. Spider-Man 2 was like a movie, to be honest. You can just watch the cutscenes, and it's like a god darn movie. But you will not see the boss fights. You will not see them swinging. You will just see cutscenes. I mean, if you guys want me to, I can react to cutscenes of the game. If you guys want me to, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, Spider-Man 2 is like a goddamn movie. Playing it don't even feel like we're playing it because it's like we playing a goddamn movie, dude. We playing a movie. Like we playing a movie. Like we playing like you're playing a movie to watch, but like you're playing the movie while like watching it. You're playing it, but you're also watching it. If you know what I mean. And it's like they did an incredible job. The web slinging, the web swinging, the the web zip, the web wings. I went back to the first game and I saw like packs with the web wings with Sandman stuck in that thing and the lizard blood and that is cool. I might actually replay Marvel Spider-Man Remastered on the channel, and then Miles Morales, and then Spider-Man 2, link it back to back to back. But when New Game Plus drops, I'm gonna do the Spider-Man 2 because I'm not restarting all over again with nothing. Um, I mean, I'm going to do it for like the live stream from the. I have nothing to build up to it, but but yeah. I'm gonna play Marvel Spider-Man Remastered again. We play that again. Miles Morales and then Spider-Man 2 again. Literally to go back to back to back. Even though we're gonna watch the previously on. We're gonna be watching that on Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2. Even though we're gonna play it back to back to back. Alright, when I beat Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, I'm going to Miles Morales right away and film that series. And after I finish with that, I'm going to Marvel Spider-Man 2 right away. But we're going to watch the previous on. But yeah, that's just want to let you guys know. And sorry this, I'm talking a lot, but this video going to be long. But I want you guys to know what's going to happen on the channel very, very soon. But I might do Spider-Man 2 when it got closer to the end of the year again, because they are dropping New Game Plus towards the ending of 2023. And I personally replay missions because I want to play one. I want to replay one mission with Martin Lee and like Miles Morales. That probably the best mission in the game. I look at title it. I look at title every video of it. Like best mission in this game. You guys gotta watch the series because the series was incredible. 7 days ago, I mean, got 3 the same day, and then 2 the next day, and then 2 on the next day, 2 on the next day, 2 the next day, 2 the next day, and 2 the next day. And I have this video, the end. See the end part 1, and I said the end because it is the end of it. I don't know if it's the end part 2 because that doesn't work. I'll do the end part 1 and then the end. But go check out the series. I had a lot of fun with it. If you guys couldn't tell, it would be posted before, but right here is I need to description it, thumbnail it, and everything. Means this coming out on the 28th when you guys are watching this. Because that video will be coming out at 12:30. This one coming out at 3:30. Yeah. Guess stay tuned to that. But yeah, let's begin watching.
Is why we started with Sandman in the beginning, and then all the different ways we could leverage the console. So kind of that was kind of the journey that we went on with this game.
Yeah.
When it came to the narrative as well, I think let's just kind of jump right into it because now we can.
Let's do it.
When did the idea for Venom, Harry being Venom kind of come about, and how important was it for you as a team to implement that in a way that feels like you're going on a journey with the characters and it feels like an authentic turn?
Really, I would say probably halfway through Spider-Man 1. Mm-hmm. Like, because we had that teaser scene that shows Norman in the tank and Harry with the symbiote, right? So we knew that, We're kind of painting ourselves in the corner, like you better. I mean, we could have like said, "Oh, that's another thing," but we knew that's where we wanted to go, right? And I think that, there was a reason why the black suit wasn't the symbiote suit wasn't in that first game. I think I even said at one point after the game ship, I'm like, "Oh, that kind of story, that thing needs its own game," and that's what we did. Yeah. But we did, and I think our kind of guiding light through this whole 9 years of working on Spider-Man has been like, let's respect the DNA of the franchise, but let's not be afraid to mix things up. So, for example, I think Venom's a good example of that. Like, you look at Venom. If you're a fan of Venom, I hope when you see Venom, you're like, oh, I recognize that character. He has the traits, the personality, the characteristics of a great Venom.
I'm a fan of Venom, but I'm not like a huge fan of Venom. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a fan of Venom. Like I'm a fan, but not a huge fan. Like, oh my god, look at this. I might say, oh my god, look at this Venom. This Venom is the best you ever seen it. But people say it's better than the movies and stuff. To be honest, for video game wise, yes. But for the movies, I mean, the movies Venom is incredible. But people like hating and stuff on the movie Venom when they see this. Yes, Venom should be mean, should be torment, scary and stuff. And yes, this is what the Venom is on Spider-Man 2, and I enjoy it. And for the story they're going with, it makes sense. But we gotta put some comedy in it. It can be all scary, like, you know what I mean? Like Spider-Man, Venom in the movies, in Marvel's movies, is phenomenal. But this game make Venom look more scary and more terrifying that you do not want to go against, and you do not want to be in the same room as it. And at the end of the game, when Venom had the wings, I didn't even catch it. I said, oh my god. In the comics, Venom had wings. And that surprised me. Like, yeah, I don't know. People hating on the Marvel's movie Venom, but it's Marvel movie Venom's just great. But this makes a huge thing of saying, yeah, Venom in this game is supposed to be scary. Supposed to, because how Peter acted against Harry when he has the symbiote, telling Harry to pop more pills, and he working his ass off in the city to help you, and like it all makes sense why Venom, now Harry, wants to go fight him, but also they said they could heal the world together, but Peter don't want to heal the world. Like, this is not what we meant by heal the world. But yeah, and then you have Miles and Peter fighting. That's the coolest. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys, not let you guys go, but I'm gonna stop talking and continue with this. Yeah, I just want to say that Marvel's Venom movie Venom is not even that bad. What people talk shit about. Like, people talk shit about the Marvel Venom, the movie Venom. A lot of people talk shit, but to be honest, it acts at a great way of Venom. But this make it like, this Venom in Spider-Man 2 is a comic Venom, but movie is, they don't want to make it off of the comics because that's kind of a little boring, and they want to change something up. And I enjoy the Venom in the movies, but I also highly enjoy the Venom in this game. It can be two different.
Recognize that character. He has the traits, the personality, the characteristics of a great Venom. But the host is different. It's Harry, because we wanted to have a character who had more of an emotional attachment to our heroes, right? So that's one of our change-ups, right? And then we did little things like, in the comics, Venom has multiple weaknesses, like his fire and high frequency. We said, hey, can we just limit it to sound, because it'll just be I don't want to sit there and go, okay, everybody, boys and girls, here's the lessons on symbiotes, and here's the 5 different ways it's weak. Let's just pick one and make it something unique and interesting. The number one thing that we talked about Venom was,
I was confused. Why did he walk through the fire and stuff? But like I said, they changed it to make it only for sound, not heat and stuff. That's cool.
something unique and interesting. The number one thing that we talked about Venom was we want to make it our own story.
Yeah.
And it was, and this is going to sound, I hope it doesn't come across cheese, like how can we make this an emotional Venom story?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing, like, I'm really proud of is that, you know, even though Harry's motivation once he has a symbiote is, I mean, what he wants to do, healing the world, is right. The way he's going about it through the symbiote is wrong. So I think we always want to, that's kind of important to us, is like, there's something with every, whether it's, you know, Otto, whether it's Tinker, and now it's whether it's Venom, there's something you can connect to
Yeah.
with the villain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, you talked about expectations. Like, it must become more tricky to.
I can't wait for them to do Green Goblin, because Green Goblin they imagine because Norman said to Peter saying, "You're like a son to me," and then Norman knows that Peter is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man ruined his son, and then Norman get pissed, turn into Green Goblin, fighting Spider-Man, Peter Parker. It's going to be cool. I want them to do that.
I was gonna say, like, you talked about expectations. Like, it must become more tricky to kind of. Obviously, you're playing with the same pieces that a lot of other stories have. In the first one, you had the Otto story, which is something that has been done before, but you kind of subvert it in really interesting ways. And the expectation from a narrative point is, like, the more games you make, the harder that gets, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, and the way you did it with Venom was, I think, done
Phenomenal.
really well, because
Thank
up
you.
until then, like, Venom is Eddie Brock, and
Yeah.
he's kind of like down on his luck, that kind of thing. But the fact that you went with Harry was very, very unexpected. And it also, unless I'm like reading it wrong, like, it let you work in stuff like Agent Venom, like
Yes.
that costume and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
So-
that Harry moment is very much inspired
Yeah.
by Agent Venom. for
Yeah, so
sure.
like that remixing, how hard is it to get that? I know people always ask, like, how hard is it to work with Marvel to do that stuff? How hard is it for you to kind of draw those connection points? Like, most people wouldn't think of, oh, Agent Venom, perfect, Harry, you know.
That's I don't. It's funny. I'm trying to remember. I'm like, okay, when did we think of Agent Venom? I think what we started was what is the path of getting to Venom, right? Like what
Yeah.
like we kind of started. What's the end, right? Okay, we want Harry to be Venom. All right, now, at what point? And like, it's going to sound really complicated, but it's not. It's like, okay, I look at the lore and I'm like, okay, what are the elements that people, if we don't do it, they're gonna be really mad. Like, you at some point need, no matter what we do, we need some point where Pete gets the symbiote.
Mhm.
And we need at some point where he doesn't have the symbiote anymore, right? Okay, so like we need those things to happen. Well, all right, but we want to, but we know we've seen Harry in the tank with the symbiote. Now, how does it go from Harry in the tank to having the symbiote, but he's not Venom yet because he hasn't been bonded with Peter yet?
Yeah.
And then how can it get to Peter? And then, so you start like it's like a puzzle. Like and what you have is you have all these pieces.
But then Peter and Indy did, because if he doesn't have it, he would die. And then the symbiote got onto Peter, and then Peter is alive, and then took out the knife, and he cool and fine. And then Peter, and the minds of the fight, Peter, and then Peter lost it, take it off, and then take off. Then Harry got mad, broke it, became Venom, and we play as Venom, and we kill everyone.
And what you realize is like the puzzle pieces actually don't fit, so you start cutting the pieces of the puzzle
Right.
to fit the thing. And I think it kind of starts with that, and then you like, you just geek out, man. You just
Yeah.
like figure like, I read this comic book and I saw this thing, Agent Venom. What if all of a
What
sudden he
is
said
happening?
Harry wants to not only be his partner in business, but also wants to be a superhero, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the question. Like, the follow up to it is like,
I clicked the F1 on accident. I mean to click escape. What is this? What? Oh, that's sick.
early, how much of this is like fortuitous? Because the idea of, you know, reach the end and you realize, oh, part of this is Harry feels really powerless. and you don't really realize up until the very last moments that it's not just because he wants to feel healthy again. He wants to feel like he's got some ability to affect the world,
Yeah.
and it's being perverted. Like, was that always the plan, or was it like, oh, that element allows us to connect to this element?
I wish I could tell you that I'm so smart that I planned it all out and we were so brilliant. It's one of those things that just comes through iteration.
Okay,
like,
cool.
you know, as we start working on the story, you know, basically we sit in a room and we just take a bunch of note cards and we're just plotting out like, okay, this is going to happen first, and then this and this, and then we like, okay, this is the story we want. Now, what missions? What would you actually do? Like, because it's, you know, you got to play the game. Just not watching a movie, right? The development process kind of shows you where to go.
Right.
If that makes any sense. Like, for example, even though we wanted to make a story about Pete and Miles, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say it was totally from day one going to be about them 100%. It was going to be like, oh, they both have something happen in their past, the death of Aunt May, Martin Lee responsible for his father's death. They're going to go on a journey on, you know, let's just say January 1 of 2019, they're going to go on a journey where they have to learn to move beyond the past to move forward. That kind of came
Right.
as we started putting things together, and we were like, because like, and we were just going, okay, what's a relatable thing? Okay, and then we were like, okay, so what if Peter's in the dealing with Aunt May, like what is Miles' obstacle? Like, and that was really important. Like, yes, they have this story of like Craven coming to town and then eventually symbiote, but we want to have these own individual stories.
Yeah.
And we're like, listen, we haven't really been with Pete since Aunt May passed away. So like, I mean, we all know we've lost significant others in our lives. Like, it impacts you in sometimes obvious ways, not so obvious ways. You can see it obviously impacting Peter, and then obviously, and then it impacts him going, I lost Aunt May. I ain't losing Harry.
Yeah.
No way, right? So that, and then you look at Miles and you're like, okay, what's a relatable story for a 17, 18-year-old? And we're like, well, I remember how stressful it was to apply to college. And then writing that college essay going like, oh, or university, I'm like, what the hell am I going to write? And him kind of distracting himself and seeing his friends and like making confident next steps. And we're like, and then you start to play around with those pieces and we're like, wow, like, well, we could bring Martin Lee back. And Martin Lee kind of, you got to start doing like, and that's the really fun part. Like, it is, thinking about those days is like kind of, you're like, oh my God, like we had, like what were we going to do? But that's where like, that's the fun part of the job, right? Is to kind of put it all together and you see like, I mean, it's really like putting a puzzle when you find like, oh, I found it, and poof, it goes in, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, but then there's like but then there's the thing where you have the story treatment, and it reads great on paper, and you start writing scripts, and you're like, well, that stinks.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. That or like we start putting that mission together, that's not going to work, and then you're tinkering again, you're moving things around. So, I've learned, and I feel like I'm crystallizing this thought as you ask that question. It's like, the game kind of tells you where to go. Like, you have an idea of where you want to go, but let the experience happen naturally. And I think sometimes when you're like, it has to be this no matter what. Now, there are some things I can tell you, like, I was like, we're starting with Sandman no matter what. Like, we're going to make it work. And maybe that's not a good thing, but I was like, we're going to start with Sandman. But other things, you kind of like ride the wave. You go, okay, I see us heading in this direction. Let's go that. Like, you know, I knew we were going to start with Sandman. I knew at some point you're going to play as Venom. Like, I didn't want the internet to talk about not playing as Venom, right? So like, you put some.
Yeah, the plane as Venom was sick, but the started off with Xanaman was risky, but at the same time worked very, very well because Marco tells you they're coming after you. They going to after you, and Craven Hunters, and like it all makes sense. Risky,
Stakes in the ground,
but makes sense.
But these other things you got to learn to bend because these games are too big, too complicated, and like once you make something interactive, it just becomes that much more difficult. So you got to be willing to bend a little bit, and also like I work with really smart people.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me what we should do, not me tell them what to do. Like I can tell you, we can go through every mission, every story point in the game, and I can point to 3 to 20 people who took that and made it 10 times better.
Right.
So I just like I don't want to. It's not. Our games are made collaboratively, and we are always kind of it's always what is the best idea that we have, and that's what we're going to go with. It doesn't come. It's not. I sit in a room and go, all right, I got all the answers.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't even want that responsibility. It's not, because I think everything what people bring to the table is just so much more interesting.
I want to talk to you a little bit about one of my favorite missions in the game is with the Coney Island going
Yeah.
around the fair, because it definitely feels like in a game full of such huge bombastic moments, it was this really nice, just very human
Yeah.
interaction between the three friends, and I really love the way that obviously it culminates in a very bombastic
Yes,
sequence.
it does. Yeah.
But the way that those interactions were just felt so genuine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so where did the idea for that come from? How do you kind of craft a scene like that one?
So I can tell you, it started with the idea of like, hey, so we did the Halloween party in the first game. How can we drive everybody crazy with something even crazier in the second game, in Spider-Man 2? And we're like, well, we're gonna build Brooklyn and Queens. There's Coney Island. We could just do that. So there was that. And I think we're like, oh, it would be really cool to go around to Coney Island, play all the mini games, and have this thing. But the real answer is, we talk about Spider-Verse, the Spider-Verse films, and they have their own identity, the way they do things, right? You look at the MCU and Spider-Man, they handle it a certain way. They each have their own identity, and I feel like when you look at our Spider-Man franchises, something I'm really proud of, I'm not saying they didn't do this stuff, but I'm saying like for us, a big focus has been like a 360-degree view of the world. And I think that, it's why yes, we have Pete and Miles in their suit and they're doing cool things, but it's just important to see their lives outside the suit.
Yes, finally.
What the hell? That's weird.
Why MJ's playable. Pete and Miles aren't the only people in the world,
Yeah.
in this world, right? We have characters who are important to the story, to the world, and they don't have superpowers. What do they like? But I always say, we want to deliver the fantasy of superheroes, but we want to deliver a very human story with believable characters just as much, because you don't care about the stuff in the suit if you don't care about the stuff outside the suit. So we were like, we're gonna do moments like Coney Island, where it's just three friends catching up and enjoying a good time in Coney Island, somewhere they grew up and probably enjoyed as kids. I think we can all find I think to me was going to the arcade. Like I love going to the arcade with my friends. Or when I got a little bit older, drink a little bit more, I could we could go bowling together. I think about those moments. Like you go down that trip of memory lane, and that was kind of the reason to get that human side of the story in there and to do it on an interactive level. For me, I love Coney Island, but I would say the Queen's Mission, where they went back to Midtown High, is very
yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Riding the bikes together, and then doing the flashbacks in between, and running through the hallways and stuff. So I think it's just, I don't want to make these games if we don't do those missions. Yeah. I'll never not do those.
Yeah.
In a way, especially, even in the most bombastic things, we should be able to still have I was just watching Endgame the other day, because it was the anniversary of Tony Stark dying. I don't want to say Tony Stark dying.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Thank God. And I was thinking about Endgame, right? It's this bombastic, crazy setting. Some guy, purple, snapped his finger, 50% of things go away, right? But if you look at all of the motivations and the stories and the arcs of all of those Avengers,
Purple.
completely relatable.
Yeah.
Tony doesn't want to lose what he's gained. Thor feels responsible for what he did. Natasha is just lonely.
Yeah.
Those are, yes, it's crazy circumstances, but their story is so normal, right? It's just in a weird world. So I think that's something I always want us to do in our games, in our Spider-Man games. And I think that it's something from day one we want to do, and we always just want to do it more and more and more.
Yeah.
One thing I want to see Natasha and Black Widow and Iron Man or something into the Spider-Man universe. Just for a little bit. Don't have him help Peter and make him suits, because Peter Parker in Insomniac's world doesn't need that. But I want them to be in it, helping help to save New York and stuff, and save the world. The Marvel Avengers game that I think got recently took down off of the planet of Earth. It's gone now because everyone hating on it, and it was terrible when to be honest, the game was phenomenal. The combat was phenomenal. Everything about it was phenomenal. But the Spider-Man web screening and the Spider-Man sucked. But the game was actually phenomenal. The combat, the story, everything was it with the game was amazing. But Peter Parker web screening Spider-Man sucked. But even others, the game was phenomenal, but it got taken down because of a lot of hate. I enjoy it. I bought it right away, played it, beat the game within like a day or so, non-stop. I was on my couch with my family over, have a dinner tray with my TV, with my Xbox on my right. I'll be playing it. I think with my headphones on. I don't know. And then people is like laying down, people playing games on, drinking, having fun. I am over here on the couch playing Marvel's Avengers, having a great time playing it, beat the game, and that was fun. I think I still have it on my Xbox, to be honest. I can check real quick while talking to you guys, but I think I still do, and I want to let you guys know that if I probably should make a series on it. I think I still do have it. I think. Let me see real quick. Yeah, I'm already bring this right here. I'm able to install it 158 gigabytes, but I probably need to like deleted my deleted my save for it and replayed it for you guys. But if you guys do want me to do that, let me know in the comments below, because I'm actually have 312 gigabytes. I mean, I'm actually going to install that, to be honest. I mean, it said 200 gigabytes. I'm gonna install that real quick while we're going to definitely gonna play that game. But yeah, let's begin.
Those games go on. The games go on.
One of the things that I like about these games and your team's approach to it is that you apply that same kind of humanizing and relatability to the villains as well, and it feels like redemption is a big part of this story.
It is.
Like how, I mean, like I guess the question is like, what came first, Martin Lee or Anti-Venom? Like, did you know you wanted Anti-Venom in this game, and Martin Lee came because of that, and you knew you could also kind of like redeem him to a degree? Because that was like fascinating. And then the other part of it is like, in a very bold move, like you seemingly killed off a bunch of villains, and there's almost like a sympathetic quality. Like when I heard that, you know, Scorpion was dead, that you know, and I seen Tombstone, that was quite weirdly emotional for me, because it's like you have a history, and there's almost like, as Spider-Man fans, you just expect them to be there to do that dance. But then you have this agent of chaos in Craven who appears and just starts wiping the board off. What was the kind of thinking behind that?
That was bold of doing that, killing off all of those. Like, that was bold. For right now, I'm okay with it, but like, at first, did they really just kill him off? Because did Craven just kill Scorpion and Vulture? Like, what is happening? Like, why do that? But it all makes sense. Craven wants a hunt.
I do, you know, we probably work on the villains as much as we do the heroes, because I think we've grown away from this. Everything's a mustache twirly. I want to blow up the world. I want revenge. Right? That we've. I think everybody has kind of moved beyond that. Right? We always say we want the villains to be the heroes of their own story. I know I stole that from somebody. I'm not that smart. I know someone said that. That's really a lot smarter than me. But I remember it. It's something that's kind of ingrained in my head. And we've always said, like, you know, Martin Lee in many ways is he was basically experimented on, right? And
Yeah.
and now he was a little bit obviously more on the revenge side, right? But he's a man who's really hurt. I mean, normally a lot of it was responsible for. But in terms of your question about Anti-Venom and Martin Lee, I can tell you I'm not sure what came first in terms of the chicken or the egg in there, but I can tell you that we knew the symbiote powers were going to be really popular. Like we knew once we put Pete in the black suit and the symbiote suit, and they're going to go, this is awesome. Because it's a power fantasy, right? We also knew once we're going to take him away, people are going to be pissed. And we're like, okay, we got.
I wasn't. I don't think pissed. I mean, for me at least, because when I lose it, it's like, oh God, no, Peter's so weak now, and Spider Arms is good and it's great, but I want the overpower Venom abilities. Like, look at Miles. Miles have, electricity and like blue stuff, and like I said, okay, I kind of really want to play as Miles now because he's overpowered. Well, not really overpowered, but he's take down enemy faster. But Peter, on the other hand, was fun to play as the Bite Arms. But then it's hard to kill the symbiotes that came out and fight him and Venom take over the world. That's hard to do with Peter Spider Arms. And then they have Martin Lee came out to save and make Anti-Venom, and then now we're able to fight them perfectly. And
Venom. Miles is got all these cool powers. Now we got Pete with the arms, but people are gonna miss those symbiote powers. And we're like, okay, what can we do? And I'm like, well, we do have Anti-Venom. We could have Anti-Venom.
Let me consult the law.
Well, we can do that. And I was like, well, and then I think someone said well, we could also, in the lore, Anti-Venom is Mr. Negative and the symbiote come together, right? And we're like, well, if we do that, then Martin Lee's back in the game, and then we can have Miles have a story with him that ties to him. It's the puzzle piece thing again, right?
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know if it's happy circumstance or knowing the lore and those kind of things, and having a lot of puzzle pieces to play with. But I do think one of my favorite moments in the game is that moment between Miles and Martin Lee.
Just
so
about
good.
to bring that up.
Yeah,
I
so-
love that
it's
line
so-
so,
really,
so
yeah.
So
much.
about he can't
I won't
forgive him,
forgive you.
right?
Yeah.
But he can't let this bother. And
Yeah.
that's the moment where Miles can finally write the essay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the moment. He needed to do that in order to write the essay, right? And again, that's one of our writing team getting together and going how we're going to map out Miles' story, and now we're going to have Martin Lee and then it coming through, and then obviously then you have two.
The whole entire thing with Miles, I love Miles. Like, the way they build on Miles to have a character growth of Miles was actually incredible. But also seeing Peter it seemed like passing the torch to Miles. But Miles said, and this city looks like a true Spider-Man job to me. I don't know. It would feel weird if they take away Peter and put on Miles, because when you think of Spider-Man, you think about Peter Parker. Not really Miles Morales, but you still gonna think of Spider-Man. Oh, Peter Parker and Miles Morales, because they're both Spider-Man, right? I don't want. Okay, but let's talk. When you say Spider-Man, people are gonna say Peter Parker. Unless they don't really know much about Peter Parker. And say, you know who Spider-Man? Yeah, oh yeah, Miles Morales is it. Yeah, but the main Spider-Man is Peter Parker. That started the whole thing. But
Two amazing actors who take your script and make it even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just and you talked about the deaths.
Yeah.
I gotta see how long I've been recording. 39 minutes, okay.
I know they do this in comics because there's, they're bringing them back, right? I get it, and not to say that's right or wrong or whatever. I think for us is I just think there has to be real consequences to things happening,
Yeah.
and I think that if we're gonna do it, if we're saying Craven's this brutal
Killing Craven off like that was insane.
character who's like really like he's a mysterious, brutal character who has like this weird fascination with like, I want to find the person who's going to be strong enough to defeat me, and I'll be happy with my death, right? He wants a good death, basically. Well, if I was and I said like, well, guess what? Scorpion and Vulture or whoever aren't really dead, it kind of weakens his story, right? And like, we're like, you know, all of a sudden, like, you know, we have this big emotional thing with Aunt May, and I'm like, oh, guess what? Some random character came back and resurrected her. Like, all that thing was for naught. So it's like, it's having like real stakes, real consequences.
It also plays into the idea that when Pete has the Venom suit, there's the idea of he could just kill them off.
Yeah.
And there's that the mention of it where I think Martin Lee actually talks about it, and he's like, I think he's scared of what he could do as Venom. And like you see that, oh, this is what it means is what Craven's actually doing. Like, and it in certain respects, Craven by killing them off has actually helped the city in a more meaningful way than Spider-Man has putting them in the raft.
We even talked about I think at one point we even talked about how like, do we even have Jameson talk about like, well, this is a good thing and stuff like that. There's so many. It's funny. We have so many characters in this game. It's like sometimes juggle all these storylines is insane. We have, thank God for a writing team. They follow along better than I do. But yeah, I think that it's just really important. Like I think back to like just my favorite superhero movies. Like I think Killmonger is probably one of the best villains in the MCU because like Killmonger, you totally understand his motivation, why he wants to do it. He just goes about it the complete wrong way, right? There's a level, I guess, empathy would be the word for for these characters in a bit. And I think that's now Craven's a little bit of an X factor because he's just so like, but
then you learn that he's dying.
Yes,
and you're like, well, I can't relate to it,
Yeah,
but I can see how
I
it can
understand
drive
why.
something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do think that first of all, thank you for the compliment about the villains because it's really hard because you can screw them up really easily, and we work really hard to get it right because, it's just, I mean, you have a guy wearing a lion vest, you know, it's like sometimes I love, as a comic book fan, I love the look of him. I think he looks super cool, but like, we got to make you understand him and be scared of him and believe him, that's the most important thing. So, same thing with Venom, seeing like that giant, thing, you got to understand there's a person in there.
Yeah, for me, I think like what I really appreciate as a longtime fan of Spider-Man is Insomniac's games specifically, I think, have been the best iteration of those characters in a long time because for better or for worse, Marvel has kind of turned a lot of the characters into kind of jokes right now with like, you've got Venom through the Venom movies, like they have their value, but it's played for laughs in a lot of ways, and same with like Morbius and like Craven's now got his own movie coming out, I believe, but this was like a reminder of why Craven is fearsome, and I haven't had that in a long time since like the original animated series where I was like, oh, this dude's scary.
Yeah, I think for us at the end of the day, it's just focusing.
See, again, people hating on the films, bro. Come on, man. The films is incredible. I get something like, oh my god, they're making these people look ridiculous, look stupid. Look at Hulk in Endgame. Look at that. What the hell is happening to Hulk? What? Like, I get it. But stop hating on the films. Like, the films is actually good in their own way. Morbius movie was actually incredible, but it was good. Not incredible. Like I said that. It's good. Not the best at all. But it was good. I could watch it. I said, oh my god, I can't watch this and stop it. No, I can't do that. The Spider-Man films, the Homecoming was phenomenal. Far From Home was incredible. No Way Home was freaking phenomenal. Venom movies was good. The Iron Man films was good. The Hulk movie was good. Thor movie was good. Captain America movie, Black Widow, it's incredible. But like, it's not what it was in the comics. But it's gotta change stuff up for movie to make sense. That way in DC where like the only way is you kill Superman is have kryptonite, and now in every single movie someone is holding a kryptonite in their pocket to be ready to kill Superman, because Superman is literally unkillable. Without that, he's unkillable. But with it, he's killable. Like now, movies. Okay, let's have everyone have kryptonite on them at all cost. Like that kind of ridiculous. Like they should actually go to the place, grab kryptonite, and then do all of that. Not already have kryptonite and say, yeah, they would have went down to kryptonite, grab a green rock, and bring it back to Earth. And I don't know, but the films is good, bro. The films is good.
On, we've said I think it's
To be honest, I'm not really watching No Way Home. To be honest,
for us, it's like we always talk about tone, and I think that for us, it's just what we try to do is have a consistent tone for the world and the characters in the game. So I think it's not about one way is right, one way is the wrong. It's just we felt like this is what we want to do. We want to have, I would say, larger than life characters that you believe.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the way we look at it. Like I don't want to, like I never want us to be embarrassed of the lore and the costumes and stuff. Like no, we're gonna embrace it and we're gonna do it in a way that makes you love it.
Yeah, I think a good example of embracing that is, and I'm interested in how whether it was whether you found yourself being like, is this too far? The inclusion of Scream as a character, because obviously Scream is like one of a few symbiote characters, and it's not, as far as I remember, in any instance been Mary Jane
No,
before.
it's never been.
So like that's where it starts to be like you're delving into symbiote mythology.
Yeah,
in a way.
so I can tell you that we were always going to have her turn into a symbiote. And actually, the first concept we did is actually of her, but she's more like black and white. It kind of looks more like a Venom kind of thing. And then, this is where you kind of go, all right, we're going to put the Marvel hat on for a second. And we're like, well, she has red hair already.
Son, football is yours.
the Marvel hat.
Don't have any plans for Scream. Why can't Harry turn her into Scream? Like, and it's like, if you know, you know. Like, if you're a Marvel fan, you're like, that's cool, that's Scream, and she has all the abilities to Scream. And if you don't, you're like,
Oh, who
Harry,
playing?
just like
Who's one playing that? That was a.
white, it kind of
Terrible.
like a Venom kind of thing. And then this is where you kind of
But that's best way because I knew they're not gonna do Scream. If they're gonna do Scream for a little bit, it gonna make sense to pit as MJ and have Venom turn. Here we Venom turn MJ into Scream. I don't think they're ever gonna do Scream again.
go. All
But
right,
it's
we're gonna
good
put the
to-
Marvel hat on for a second.
To put it there for you to make it.
And we're like, well, she has red hair already.
Well, who's
We
playing this
don't
game?
have any plans for
Who's playing
Scream.
this?
Why can't Harry turn her into Scream? Like, and it's like, if you know, you know. Like, if you're a Marvel
Dodge
fan,
right
you're like,
there.
that's
Okay,
cool,
you
that's
dodge
Scream,
into
and
it,
she has all
bye,
the
and
abilities
then
to Scream.
you
If you
do-
don't, you're like, oh,
Wow.
Harry, just like he turned other people into symbiotes, he turned MJ into this type of symbiote.
Yeah.
So it's more like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
'cause- go on.
I was gonna say, speaking of MJ, and you said like so many more characters. I really loved the impact felt on them way more.
Yeah.
Like I think
Yeah.
particularly the Scream fight when MJ,
Yeah.
obviously under the influence of
Yep.
the symbiote, but like the stuff she says, like God, couples therapy.
Holy
oh
crap!
my
She rips him.
God.
It is very-
Has him a new
She's
one.
basically like, here's everything that you're terrible at.
And it's really effective because like I was distracted while playing it, listening to her being like, wow, this is awful, and like I'm getting my ass kicked at the same time.
Yeah.
But also like not just the fact that she's dealing with essentially being like left behind by Peter a lot. Like she is absolutely second to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like everything with her job.
Yeah.
Like as soon as she's like, oh, I've got to hit these metrics, I've got to get on the front page. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this girl is going
Compromising.
through it, and she is gonna
Yeah.
snap.
She's compromising
and,
herself.
but that's the thing. Like we talk about,
And then she snapped because she turned into Scream.
like that's something somebody might actually have to go through, and like maybe are they going to make decisions for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons? She realized she was going down. She eventually realized that she's going down a path that she doesn't believe in, and it's like completely does something else.
And out of that, thinking, and be calling you on the head, kiss my ass. I mean, I would, to be honest, I would. And it's I quit. But when it says kiss my ass, it's like, oh, I wish I could.
I think that MJ is a really important character to me because I do think she provides a perspective on a viewpoint of the world that we need to see from but Pete and Miles obviously have this really we've
I would.
seen
I
their
would kiss your
perspective
ass.
a lot in terms of like we see how they see the world. What is it like on the other side of that relationship? What is it like? And I think the other thing is when we talk about the symbiote, in many ways we talk about addiction a lot, right? And there's at certain points like you see Peter kind of loses himself to it, and he changes, his personality changes, and he says things like, I mean, could you ever imagine Peter saying to you're not the hero I am? Like he says that like. He would never say to Harry, "Why don't you go pop some more pills?" And or yelling at her for her headline and stuff like that. And I think, you talk about some of the exchanges. Some of my favorite stuff is the fight between Miles and Peter.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like
That was good.
It's happening during the combat, but it's actually really emotional. And like you can hear Peter like trying to justify himself. And Miles is like, you gotta. And I think the thing is with both that fight with Peter and then with
You do it, man. So my call was about man.
going with Scream is like, we talked about not only the impact on the person who's under the symbiote, how does that impact the people around them? And I think that we realize is like your friend. What we talked about is your friends and family and everybody around you can only get you a certain way, but at the end of the day, it's you that has to take the final step. That's why Peter's the one at the end that rips it. It's why MJ kind of goes, I'm going over here for the sound to kind of rip it off. It's like that final step needs to be taken by you. And it's kind of the same thing happens with Harry. He's the one who goes, Pete, do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's. I'm not trying to say like we're telling all the levels of addiction and all that, but we did. It's just kind of again like taking this big crazy thing about an alien substance and trying to add some believability about what these.
The game is dark, like very, very dark, like more dark than I thought it would. Because it makes sense to make it dark because of Venom, but like did not expect it to be this dark. Like telling freaking Peter, telling freaking Harry, how about pop some more pills? Like whoa, like wow. Peter would never say that to his best friend Harry. How about you pop some more pills? Buh. And like, I'm the hero, not you to MJ. Buh.
These characters are going through.
Yeah. I think one of the most interesting kind of takes that you guys have put into this game, and it feels like a pot bubbling and just about to flow over the entire time, is Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
Where like, if you know the universe, you just
That's
you're
one if
waiting
you know
for
you
it
know.
to happen. You're waiting for the bomb to like explode, and I really loved the way that you guys played with it. Where he's more doting as a father than he ever has been before. Even though you can tell it's kind of like not all genuine, and then the way you play with colors, with green, and like the way it builds up, and then if you know like the Goblin story, the way he starts to be more like fatherly towards Peter, you're like, oh no, we know where this is going.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite scenes is when Pete screams at Harry and MJ, and then he sees Norman yelling, and they have that like very father son moment, and that's what Harry overhears a little bit, and he's like, oh, so I'm basically being replaced.
Yeah.
First of all, Mark Rolston is our actor who plays Norman Osborn, and like that's just like, yeah, Mark, you just do what you want to do, and we're gonna record it, right?
The Green Goblin confirmed. Green Goblin confirmed. Like, I didn't realize he was wearing green hoodie, a green coat, and Green Goblin is green. Like, not the body green, but the uniform is green. Like, it confirmed.
Replaced.
Yeah.
First of all, Mark Rolston is our actor who plays.
He's incredible, by the way.
Norman Osborn, and like that's just like, yeah, Mark, you just do what you want to do, and we're gonna record it, right? When we think of Norman and where we're going, I think I'm glad you said sympathetic, because I think there's a or I don't know if I said it, maybe you said, I don't know, but I wanted to get, I think we wanted to get away from like the very like the expected storyline with Norman. Like I think if we can, the way we're going, what could happen to him maybe might be more understandable.
Yeah, I think the setup is definitely
Spider-Man
there
3?
because like it's easy to forget because you play the game for 30 hours, but like he's the one that put the symbiote into play. So
36 hours on Spider-Man 2 already. I have 80 hours on PS, the remastered. I have like 56 something on Miles Morales and 36 hours already on Marvel Spider-Man 2. To be honest, I have less time on Miles Morales, but the game was is incredible. But I have more hours on remastered because I like Peter Parker, and I really don't know much about Miles Morales. But now with this, like with Insomniac, and then Miles Morales, and then I went to watch the Miles Morales movie, the Spider Verse movies. I watched all of those. Phenomenal movie, like phenomenal movies. And then I would go back to playing Marvel Spider-Man 2 with Miles while they're playing and doing all that. Like it's make me like Miles Morales a lot more, but still I'm a Peter Parker fan, and I'm a Miles Morales fan, but I'm more of a Peter Parker fan. Like nothing will be Peter Parker in my eyes. Like yeah, Miles is cool, Miles is great, Miles is phenomenal. His powers is phenomenal. Electricity, blue lightning, like blue electricity, normal electricity. Yeah, he cool, and like everything about it. His personality, his mom, Rio, Genki, Haley, like it's all cool. But Haley, it, all cool because they do Haley because Gwen Stacy is not in the universe, and they replace Gwen Stacy to Haley, but make Haley deaf and only do the hand. Like it's cool. I like Miles Morales, but I don't think it would be Peter Parker with like Doc Ock, Vulture, Scorpion, Venom, and all that. But having Venom into the same game as Miles, and Miles fighting Venom, and it's cool.
You play the game for 30 hours, but like he's the one that put this in.
But nothing would be Peter Parker in my eyes.
It's like it's easy
I
to
like
forget
Miles,
because you play the
but I
game for
like
30
Peter
hours, but
better.
like he's the one that put the symbiote into
I
play.
Mhm.
So like, and then at the end where he's like, you know, what have you done to my boy?
Yeah.
To them,
Yeah.
he's really
Yeah.
trying to deflect from the fact that he started
100%.
all of this.
Yeah.
And then the ending, obviously, where he's trying to get the names of who they are out of Doc Ock, you can tell like,
Yeah.
oh, he's fixating his like kind of obsession on them being the problem. And it's a really fantastic setup that I hope like you guys explore further.
Fake. Well, I will tell you. That
Oh.
scene I've had in my head between Otto and Norman since the beginning.
Yeah.
I said I don't do a lot of things right, but I said if we can get this, if we can go down the path I go, I want that last scene to be between Otto and Norman having that conversation. So
Yeah.
if we ever continue doing these things, we can
If.
fan favorite.
If we ever.
If we
oh my
ever.
God.
To see because they're so adversarial in that first game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That relationship changes,
Yeah.
and I think it could be fun to explore.
Yeah, I like how menacing it is when Otto is like, when he tells them like he tells them like they hurt my son. He's like,
Good.
good.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is about to be a really awful like
Spicy.
partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the others,
Oh, you got me excited.
yeah, one of the smaller stories that I really like appreciated was Tombstone. Like
Yes.
his
Yeah.
that idea of
Ronnie.
rehabilitation,
Yeah.
and I was waiting for the moment where he's like, actually I'm evil, and it just never happens. And I was like, I really respect that they showed that in this world people can turn.
Yeah.
And the same with Mysterio as well to a degree. Like
Yeah.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah.
it's really
There.
like-
Yeah. It's funny. You're not the first person to mention that, and I don't know if that was. I wish I could say complete plan. I'll say the writers planned it and they did a great job executing it. But
Writers
that's reality,
again.
right? I mean, people can change. I mean, I know people, friends I have who are close friends where I'm like in the beginning, I'm like, I don't like you. I don't like you. And then I hope some people, feel that the way about me. That like, hey, like
I don't
you're
like
not the
you,
person
but
I
you're
thought you
cool
were,
now.
in a good way. So I do
Oh, that
think
way.
that's important to show. Like, again, it's more of that.
Okay, how long have I been recording? Holy crap. The about an hour. Holy crap. Sorry, guys. I talk too
Show
much.
a world, yes, it's a world that has superheroes and supervillains, but it doesn't mean like it's not reality. There's not a reality to it. It's not a believability to it. So I think that's really important that we continue to explore across it. It's not just that. It's showing Miles connect to his community in Harlem. It's showing him interacting with students in his it's Brooklyn Visions and helping them out. It's Peter sitting on a bench with an older gentleman listening to stories about his wife. It's showing all of those.
That was a
I
good.
like to say I've been talking a little bit about like Pete and Miles' job isn't just to deal with Sandman. It doesn't.
No.
It's deal with it's to help out with everything. That's what a true hero is. You don't have to, and you also don't need to be a superpowered person to be a hero.
No.
And I hope MJ and Haley show that.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorite missions is actually an example of how, they can solve problems in a way that you don't expect, and it's a random side mission. It's the monster one where it's like that a blind lady who's like, something is digging up my
That's
backyard.
a great one.
It's such a nice one. By the end of it, you
the
realize,
Fido mission.
you realize that it's one of those robot wolves, and you like reprogram it to be a nice dog, and she's like, I'm allergic to dogs, and he's like, here's a metal dog.
It's great, right?
It's just so
and then
sweet.
Genki's like hacks into it and like is it all? It's so
like I've uploaded thousands of guide dog videos into it. It's such a clever way to do it.
Yeah, that's like, I can tell you right now, we didn't have we said, hey, we want some, we call them friendly neighborhood Spider-Man quests.
Yeah.
And the team just goes and creates stuff like for example, the Howard mission, the one where we're helping Howard. That was created by one of our designers, Brian Matheson, who did it during a game jam. Actually we have like this kind of sometimes we have like this week or two between Thanksgiving and the holiday break. When someone's like, you know what, let's not schedule anything. Let's just let people have fun and create stuff. And he designed this thing, and we're like, oh, that's going in the game.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think that's a good example of just Insomniac being Insomniac, and I think that's one of the reasons why, it's like if I said, oh, it's going to be this and this and this, we would never get those kind of moments. We'd never get those kind of creative missions. So it's just it's funny when we sent out the review code. I wrote a little letter. Who knows if anybody read it? But I was like, I so want to go. Just please play side content. And I think I added like a comment of like, this is some of my favorite stuff, because I was like, I really want people just to understand, like, we put a lot of time and effort to improve the storytelling and the creativity that went into that stuff, because we knew like that was something we definitely wanted to level up this time. And I'm glad from talking to a lot of people, it's definitely resonating with people. So it's good to hear the team did a great job.
A couple of loose ends to tie up. First one, returning to the idea of expectation and kind of like the scale of it. So you've now got, you moved into 2 Spider-Men, which was a big task.
Yep.
And by the end of this game, the thing I'm like, oh my God, I do not envy them, is the amount of things that are now on the table.
Yeah.
Because obviously there is the Doc Ock stuff where he's like, I'm writing the final chapter. There's Norman Osborn. There's the stuff with,
Silk.
Silk. We'll come to that later. But like if you collect all the spider bots, there's like, if Miguel comes around, do this. But then there's also Cletus Cassidy and Carnage. Like,
you're making me sweat. You're
What
making
is-
me sweat.
It is hot in here.
yeah,
too.
what does that kind of mean for like the next
shit.
entry? Obviously, you can't talk in length, but
Also,
we're
like the
assuming-
reference from Wong. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like-
There's a lot of that stuff, and at some point, I guess the question is this something that you expect to
Trying to say something to make Brian like say something that he wished he didn't say.
that stuff? And at some point, I guess the question is this something that you expect to come to a head in a meaningful way, or is this like, right now we just want to make something that's memorable and interesting, so we will do this Carnage story, not necessarily with payoff in mind? Or is it a case of, no, we're building to something, like this is going to be a big thing that it all comes together in?
Can I answer yes and no at the same time?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
it's kind of like, listen, we have a lot of pieces to play with if we want to, right? And I think that's exciting. It can be daunting.
Yeah.
But I said this to somebody, and by the way, internet, please don't quote me if I could have sworn I remember, like, I'm a MCU junkie, like I read everything, like I'm reading new books
Don't
about
quote
them,
me.
and like I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with that, how like to me, like, movies like Infinity War and Endgame should never worked, and I'm like, how did they even make it work? I just don't want to believe it, right? And I remember hearing something like Marvel, they're not like, oh, we're going to hold this back because like, oh, it might be just something later. It's like, we're going to put everything in to make the best game possible, the best movie possible now. We'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. Like, it's about doing the best thing. Now, am I going to sit here and say like, I don't think about the future if we have those possibilities? Well, sure. And I think I don't think we've painted ourselves into a corner. Will it be challenging for some? Sure. Guess what? Game development's challenging in other ways. So, but I would rather have that challenge. I'd rather have that challenge than you tell me I don't like Spider-Man 2. I don't want to see any more of these characters. These characters stink. We're done. So I'll take that. I'll take that over the other. But so I'm 46.
Spider-Man 2 sucks. Peter Parker sucks. Miles Morales sucks. The story sucks. Venom sucked. The side quest sucked. Weapons, the worst addition to the game. I can keep a straight face because it's not the truth. Game was phenomenal. Peter Parker is incredible. Miles Morales is incredible. Venom is incredible. But everything the best addition to the game. The side quest is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I want more.
2 years old and I get to play with Marvel character the other. But listen, I'm 46 years old and I get to play with Marvel characters. Like I got a pretty good life. We'll figure it out some way or another if we get the ability to.
Yeah, and I guess the final thing, return to what Lucy mentioned earlier, was Silk. Was that always in the plan?
No.
Was it
Can I just say how much I loved that storyline about
the dual
about
dating
the
thing?
date?
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
cute.
god! Like I rolled credits and I was like, oh wait, we never got to see the date.
That's
Yeah.
a great.
I forgot that the Rios had a date planned, and then when Miles
what is
asked
it
about
Miles
the date,
says?
I was like,
So it.
Yeah,
I
who
wish
the-
I could tell you, like, 9 years ago, I knew Cindy and Albert Moon were going to be at that door. I didn't.
Yeah.
I think we talk about expectations.
But who's the
I
lady?
think we talk about,
Who?
I think some of
Is
the
the
hardest
lady?
things we do is like, because there's Marvel fans are so passionate.
Who's the
They're like-
daughter?
They're like they're expecting this. They want this, or they has to do this. And you're like, oh my god, they're guessing everything. Like, how do you surprise them? And there's a limit of that, right? But I do think that we have an opportunity, if possible, to explore a character that hasn't been fully explored yet, and I'm excited about that.
very excited to see it.
And I'm sure people are asking, well, did you think of another character that could have been there? The answer is yes. But we wanted to do something maybe unexpected.
Ben Riley.
Yeah. I get asked about him a lot.
His outfit is just cool, and I think like every time it's weird because his outfit is in the game, but it feels
The game. Next game. Confirmed. Okay.
wrong to put Peter in that outfit.
Yeah.
So I never
But I
do
can tell you
it.
right now, if I didn't have that suit in the game, that would be a
It
problem.
would be upsetting.
yeah,
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 people
you'd
would be
get less.
very
That'd be a
upset.
problem. It'd be a problem.
But yeah, I think like for me, like, I think the big takeaway for me is like, before the game came out, I think I guessed most of the pieces to be like, oh, Venom, Anti-Venom, this is who is.
Oh, you
like,
guessed Anti-Venom?
Yeah, I
Nice.
figured there needs to be like, obviously because of Miles and
Yeah.
Mr. Negative, I thought, oh, like, cool, that's likely.
I didn't get shit.
Yeah.
So
But like every guess that I made, the way you guys got there wasn't exactly wasn't how I predicted. It was completely different
Good.
route. So it was like, okay, you took the things that I know and you turned them upside down. So even me, as someone who's been reading and experienced Spider-Man since a kid,
Yeah.
didn't see it coming.
Good.
So I think that's a kind of fantastic.
Well, I mean, you all know Greg Miller. He's
Oh,
a
yeah,
big
yeah.
Marvel
Who?
fan. Yeah, exactly.
with or
And-
without his
Who?
shirt.
both. And I remember when we were doing the first one, he was like, well, I was like, there's no surprises. And I was like, oh, so you thought we were going to kill Ame? And he's like, well, no, I mean, not that one. And I'm like, and I think, something we talk a lot about, just in terms of like,
Wait,
PR,
so you didn't know me to kill no.
and how much you show before even the game comes out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I didn't want to show anything. Like, I didn't want to show a thing. Like, I was having meetings. Like, I don't want to show anything.
Yeah.
For that very reason. Like, I don't want you to go
the
into
guess.
the game thinking. But the fact that also I have to be an adult and know we have to actually market the game, but the fact that there are, like I said, there are certain things I feel like we need to do as being Marvel fans but if we can do it in a way that still surprises you, that's
Yeah.
the best of both worlds.
Well, I think you definitely did that.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
Thank
Did
you for
that,
joining us.
definitely.
in this
Thank you.
You guys
in-depth
are great.
discussion.
I forget we're even recording. So yeah, we want to talk. Yeah, but no, but I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm just happy to. It's just fun to at this point. Like it's been a long time. Just being able to talk and I mean, even say that Harry is Venom. Like I mean, I've been holding that out forever.
Honestly, the one thing that I did get wrong is I thought Craven was going to get the symbiote because I only did that because of the physical stature of them. Like I was like, it matches up for Big Venom.
We talked. Just I think briefly, though. I will tell you, we at one point had a Venomized Sandman.
Oh!
Wow!
It's just a
That's
concept.
really
It was just a
interesting.
concept.
Oh!
He was gonna be venomized. And then
That'd
I
be
realized,
fire.
oh, Sandman's just gonna be hard on its own. But there's a concept image. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for even saying it. But
That'd be
that's
fine.
really in concept form, it was really cool. Like this is really great. Whatever you describe it. Like there's this great top-down shot of Miles charging up like his evolved Venom. And he's looking down, and you see this giant Sandman who's like a Venom face.
Oh, that's
That would be
People
cool.
are I'm probably gonna get so much in trouble. Oh, well. At least the game's good, right? Hey,
Yeah.
it's been fun
It's
while it
great.
lasted. Yeah, we talked about venomizing more people and stuff like that. For sure.
the bit where the stone is shown. My first thought was, oh, are they going to do the King in Black? And then that was like, that seems way too crazy. Like you cannot have Null knocking
Did you
around.
expect the wings?
I did not expect the
Okay,
wings. That
okay.
was very cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm a
it-
big fan of Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, who've written
Yes.
the Venom comic for a long
Yeah.
time, and that was my tip of the hat to them.
Yeah, it was very cool, especially when like he's quickly trying to get back to the
Yeah.
collider.
Yeah.
and he just like pops out and he's
Oh,
gone.
yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
this is deadly. Now
Yeah.
we can fly.
Yeah,
They
that
fly
was-
now.
Yeah. It was cool.
But yeah, Brian, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Congrats on
Thank you very much.
the many years of effort paying off, and
Thank
we
you.
are super excited to see the next phase of Spider-Man, and also the other guy that you're working on.
Oh
who
yeah,
isn't
the other
referenced
guy,
at all
the
for
other-
some
yeah, the
reason.
other guy. Yeah, I can tell you it's going to be very good.
We're very
Okay.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited.
Thank you.
I'm excited for that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. If you guys did enjoy the video, please drop a like on the video, comment, subscribe, post notifications syndromes. I'm sorry this video is an hour 11 minutes long. I'm sorry about that. The goddamn long reaction. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, post notifications syndromes, and I'll tell you guys on the next video. Peace out.